Hey everybody, it's Roop here, and it's time for the weekly news roundup. So, first things first, we have Deep Emotion Maiden Urjula. Got these names. He is a grade 1 8k. Continuous rearguard circle. When you would swap or move rearguards during the main phase, you can move them between rows. And then your units in front of this unit cannot be chosen by opponent's card effects. So, this is a pretty neat ability. What it means is you can basically move all of your rear guards anywhere you want, although, while it is interesting, I'm not sure if you would necessarily need any of these. Like, even the part where it gives resist to the thing in front of it, it does go away if you just get rid of the card itself, so unless you're just playing two copies of these in the same column together. Actually, no, that wouldn't work because it's only in front of it, so yeah. You know, you just get rid of this and then get rid of the thing in front of it, so, I don't know. Interesting card, doesn't seem particularly useful. Next up, we have a couple of cool reveals for Brantgate. So, there's Aurora Battle Princess Billet Canary. When placed on rearguard circle, choose an imprisoned card from prison and put it into the drop zone. She is a grade 2 10k. This is a really, really neat card because one of the problems with prison is that it's temporary, so if you got this problem rearguard, like Alden, for example, imprisoning it is only going to do so much. At a point, Bastion just stops caring about counterblast and will just call out Aldens again to have a strong beater, so if you could imprison problem cards and then drop them, they'll actually get rid of those cards. The only downside to this is you are taking away imprisoned cards, so you're going to have to find a way to get back to that 3 imprisoned threshold that a lot of skills need to function. Next, you have Aurora Battle Princess Whopper Prune. Grade 1 8k. When placed on rearguard circle, if you have 5 or more of your opponent's cards in prison, countercharge 1 or soul charge 3. Probably not very effective. Bulbul Mine is a better countercharger, and prison isn't really lacking for soul just because the prison card itself soul charges 3. Imprisoning 5 is a very big ask, honestly. Like, I feel like 3 is more reasonable than a lot of people say it is, but 5 is definitely a much higher threshold than the 3 it normally needs. We already talked about this during the main podcast last week, but just to reiterate, we are getting front triggers that have 20k shield value, so that's a pretty cool thing. We'll have to see, how that plays out in the meta. And then the big stream reveals for this week are Wild Intelligence, a grade 0 order for Stoicheia, so you play it with Counterblast 1, mill 3 from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 card with the same grade as your Vanguard or lower from drop zone, and call it to rear. If your Vanguard is Magnolia, you can choose 2 cards instead of 1. Really neat card. Being able to mill things early is really nice just to, set up your options for Spiritual Body Condensation and the like. I know Atlas puts Condensation in his deck, and, this lets you grab 1, possibly 2 if you're on Magnolia, so pretty neat order overall. Definitely like it. Next we have Sylvan Horn Beast Damon... I will get this name right. Daminaru. So, it is a grade 2 10k. When it's placed on rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is Magnolia, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rearguards, it can attack from the back row and gets power plus 5000. Notably, it can choose itself. It doesn't say other. Might change in official English translation, we'll see. And then auto, once per turn, when it's chosen by Vanguard effect, it gets another 5k, so it becomes a 20k attacker on its own. Pretty good, not quite the best. It still needs a little bit of extra help to reach really nice numbers, but that's what things like Gnozla is for. Especially because this card costs a Soul Blast for everything it does. It helps you make extra attacks early. And it's overall just a really neat card. I really like it. Magnolia is looking like it's got some good stuff going for it. Next, we have a couple of pretty cool prison reveals from the stream. We have Aurora Battle Princess Derry Violet. Grade 2 10k. When it's placed on the guard circle, if 1 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units and it can't be hit by a grade 2 or lower her attack until the end of that battle. So, I'm a little iffy on the usefulness of this card. It is effectively a perfect guard for grade 2 or lower units, but a lot of the decks right now have, like, grade 3 beaters that they like playing. Bruce has both Marjorie and Fist Colossus. You have Verena Valiente, Bastion, period. Hexaorb has Lepisto, and I think, come set 2, even Prison itself is getting that grade 3 common, Mel Horizon, that's an 18k attacker, so that's probably going to be the main attacker for that deck, I imagine. I don't see this card being as useful as you might think it is, just because of how prominent grade 3s are as rear guards right now. Then we have a really neat card in Aurora Battle Princess Perio Turquoise. I can't believe that the weird magical girl names are the easiest ones for me to pronounce right now. So, continuous rearguard circle. During your turn, if 2 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned, it gets power plus 5,000. So, simple 15k beater. And then auto front row rearguard circle. When your opponent's card is imprisoned in your prison, is placed on rearguard circle, that unit gets power minus 5,000 until end of turn. So, this is a really neat ability because it helps to take away some of the interaction with prisons, so now if they try to take things out of their prison, they have to think about the power loss associated with that, and have to rethink how they build their columns. So it adds a lot of defensive utility to the prison if you can keep this on your front row, especially because there are actually a good number of, like, kind of awkward columns, like Marjorie being 33 on a Persona Ride turn. I think, what's his face? Zorga, Ocean Man, can probably make some really weird numbered columns depending on what he calls out, so the minus 5 from this card can really help to fix some of the awkward numbers that come up and helps to make up for the lack of any 10k shields in the game right now. Easy 10k shields. Got some Bruce support in the form of Diablos attacker Irving, grade 3, 13k. Auto Vanguard Rear. When it attacks a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1 gains 5k. If you're in Final Rush, gains 15 instead of plus 5. It is a Fist Colossus that you can reuse, but it also uses Soul instead of Counterblasting, which, Bruce has more Counterblast than Soul available between Gungrum and Bruce himself, so don't know if this will end up seeing play just because of that Soul cost. Probably going to stick to Fist Colossus, even if it is a little more convoluted, to try and recycle that card with Proto Ball. There's a Blitz Order, Special Violence Yell. Choose one of your Diablos Violence Bruce on Vanguard or Rearguard and gets plus 20k until end of battle. Probably not going to play it just because Bruce needs a lot of Rearguards, and you probably just don't have space for orders, honestly. Another really neat card for Prison in Bug Motor, where grade 1 8k, act. If you have one or less of your opponent's cards imprisoned in your prison, you can rest it, choose a unit from your opponent's drop zone, and imprison it in your prison. So, really nice for getting the chain started, gets you to 2 prisons, so you only need to find 1 more. If your opponent is playing with a lot of resist units on the board, or they didn't give you anything to imprison, then this can kind of help you get to that 3-card threshold alongside the Order 24-hour coverage, where it can imprison something from hand. Hexaorb Support! We have Diamond Sorceress, grade 1 8k. When placed on Rearguard Circle from hand, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb or Pentagleam, so early gaming, you can Counterblast 1, discard a card, look at the top 2, choose up to 2 unit cards, and call them to Rearguard Circle, put the rest on top of your deck. So, this is really nice because one of the problems with Hexaorb is just no real way of plussing, so being able to call out 2 units from your top deck instead of having to call things from hand, really nice to get that early pressure in. And it can, if you just see a bunch of triggers, you just stack them back on top. It is a little expensive with the discard, but, it makes up for it if you call the units and potentially just by stacking the triggers too. And then there's Octa Reward Sorceress, God, these names. Auto Rearguard Circle. When a trigger unit appears in your drive check, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb, retire it to Countercharge or Soul Charge 1, and it is a grade 3 13k. This card has the most awkward timing because it means, as a grade 3, you're probably going to play it in the front row, just because Hexaorb doesn't plus very much, so whatever rear guards you can get, you're probably going to place them down. And then you have to attack with it before your drive checks, because if you get a trigger, then it kills itself. And you're put into a situation where you have to put all of your eggs into the other column. And the nice thing about Hexaorb, especially if you had Lepisto on the board too, is that, you know, you could restand it, and if you see multiple triggers, you could kind of split them up and have pressure on both sides. You're not just relying on that one column, because, okay, let's say you have like 2 crits, you have a 60k column with 3 criticals, you try to swing for game, and they just drop a perfect guard. Alright, turnover. Versus having like 2 40k columns, maybe one of them they could PG, and then the other one just hits them and you win, right? So it's kind of a necessary card because it is a guaranteed countercharge compared to Fasado's on-hit ability, but also it is super duper awkward. Next up, there's Stealth Dragon Togachirashi. When this card is discarded, it is a grade 1 7k, by the way. When it's discarded from hand during your turn, you may put it into your soul, assuming it is for fucking Overlord. Possibly also support for Nirvana for Overdress, because Valiante needs to discard, and possibly the new Virina too. And then there is a grade 2 order, Prayers That Will Reach Someday. So Soul Blast 1, if you have a rearguard with the Overdress ability, choose one of your units, gets power plus 15,000 till end of battle, so it looks like that's a Blitz Order. Soul is a bit scarce if you use Verina's Retire ability. I don't know. I feel like there's just so much room being dedicated to Verina itself that you're just probably not going to have space for this card. And then finally, we have a couple of Orphist cards. So Cardinal Prima Eclopa is a grade 1 8k. When it attacks or boosts, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you can retire a Shadow Army to countercharge 1. Neat utility. I'm not sure if you want to be using this to retire Shadow Armies, just because it makes for a pretty weak column compared to just having a Shadow Army column or having one of your 15k attackers. Feel like maybe Bulbul Mine behind Vanguard is still the play, although I guess no, because I think you would want to attack with Vanguard first with Orphis, since it's a 3-attack deck. I don't know, I feel like same thing as Octa Reward, the timing on this is just kind of awkward, and it makes bad columns, so I'm not 100% sure you want to be playing this compared to just Bulbul Mine. Then there's Cardinal Prima Artepo, is also a grade 1 8k. When it's placed on Guard Circle, if your world is Dark Knight, Soul Charge 1. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight, Soul Charge 2. Pretty neat. A lot of the world orders that you need Soul Blasts, so being able to plop this down, get a bit of soul back is nice. And that is it for all of our card reveals. But we actually have way more news coming out this week, because they also started revealing revival selections and giving preview for everything that's in the V Premium set. The Vmium set. So, I don't want to go into all of the revival cards specifically, just because it's a lot, and, you know, the quality of these reprints kind of range in usefulness, but also, they did make a bunch of choice reprints like Gasteel, Stride, and Taro, which just kind of shows that, like, they probably don't know the problem with Premium, and it's a dead format unless they go full Konami and ban the cards immediately after reprinting, which would be absolutely hilarious if they did it. But on the Vmium side of things, we have a lot of exciting reveals. So we got reveals for Daikaiser finally in Dimension Police, and if you listen carefully, you can hear different fights squealing in the background. We also have Risers confirmed for Vmium, so that'll be fun. I'm sure Chris would enjoy that. We have that one break ride for Link Joker. I can't remember its name, and I don't feel like Googling it right now. What is the... Oh, right, Seal Dragons for Kagero. Those are all the reprint stuff. Let's see. We got Dudley Emperor, so gives your rear guards a power-up when they will attack, but they'll be removed afterward. Okay, so literally just Dudleys. On-hit skill, have a skill when it leaves the field. That'll actually be interesting and a good way to interact with Spike Brothers' whole leaving the field mechanic. And Dudley Daisy, call more units when placed due to a card ability. And I believe, more Dudley cards mean they'll also help out Dudley Lucifer. Then we have Chronos Command for Gear Chronicle, so GG, you can call it when it's discarded from hand, and it has a skill to draw on rearguard. You have Calibum, it has a skill that can return any player's rearguard to deck. Additional abilities are activated depending on the return card's grade. And Chronos Command returns all of your opponent's rearguards to deck, and it has an additional skill, which, given that GG has a skill when discarded, probably has to do with discarding things to make stuff happen. So, Chronos Command having the OG Gear Chronicle gimmick of returning things to deck, which feels more powerful in D, where there's a lot of drop zone abilities, but, removal is still removal. We'll see what Chronos Command turns out to be. On Genesis side of things, we have Valencia and Chamomile, two cards that work well with Genesis and make heavy use of Soul Blast. Valencia has a skill that builds up Soul when Soul Blasted, and Chamomile is an attacker who can call herself when you Soul Blast her during your turn. Fortuna, paying a Soul Blast, you can see your fate, guaranteed triggers on your drive check and damage check, and further effects activate when a trigger is revealed for damage check. That'll be interesting. Could be a defensive mechanic. I'm sure Chris is very happy about that. We have Ancient Dragons for Tachikaze, so Iguana Gorg, return itself when retired like in the past. Spino Driver, or Dino Crowd, a super powerful attacker that powers up by retiring rearguard, and Spino Driver, get an Excel gift by retiring rearguards. Oh boy, fun. Call units to the additional Cell Circle. Ancient Dragons have a skill that gives themselves gauges when you drive check and reveal a trigger, probably front triggers like other Ancient Dragon support. We're getting a new Bunny archetype for Pale Moon, so Bunny Beast Tamer Tyreeves. When you have Bunny grade 1s in your soul and rearguard, it becomes more powerful, and other Beast Tamers will also make the show more exciting, so that'll be interesting, supporting a bunch of really old cards. Beast Tamer Assistant Chlorina, drive +1 when there's a lot of Bunny grade 1s in soul and rearguard. They may be an assistant, skill is first class. Musing Bunny, grade 1 Bunny to help the Beast Tamers. Combine the power of different bunnies to create the best show. That'll be really interesting. For Gold Paladin, we're getting Bluish Flame, so Josephus able to draw and countercharge when placed from deck. Fallon, an attacker that calls more on hit, and Prominence Core powers up each time you call a rearguard. If you call Aglavale, it becomes more powerful, and is further enhanced when you have Percival, too. Little bit concerned just because of how strong Percival made Gurgit in the past. We'll see what happens. And then we have some Bladewing support. Bestial Squeezer, 2 skills, increase soul without depleting your deck. That'll be interesting to see. I imagine soul charging from drop zone or possibly rearguard, so that'll be cool. Or maybe, being on rearguard will cause it to count extra soul. That could be interesting too. Blaze Foresight, a unit that can solve the issue of not being able to increase soul because of grade 0s in hand. Interesting. I want to see what that's like. I hope it's not just putting triggers into soul, because that would kind of suck defensively. And then Blade Ring Reiji. So, different power depending on how much soul, and when it reaches 15, you get a game-ending skill. Dark regular stuff. And then we have, I think this is Nubata. No, I think this is Murakumo. I don't know which of the ninja clans are by icon. Stealth Fiend, Flight Shikuru. A grade 2 that lets you draw and power up when it gets returned to the deck. Stealth Fiend, Lady Silhouetta. Grade 2 that copies any grade 2 or less card you reveal in your hand. You can also bring down your opponent's rearguard even if her attack is guarded. Okay, so that sounds like Shadow Stitch for Murakumo. And then we have Stealth Fiend Lord Nura Hyoga, leader of the Stealth Fiend. Increase your drive check based on Stealth Fiend followers. Murakumo somehow currently the best deck in format. Be interesting to see if this somehow breaks Nue Dio even more in Premium. Haven't paid enough attention to actual Vimium these days to know how many Stealth Fiend options you have outside of the support that's coming in this set, though. And that'll be it for all of our reveals this week. Thank you for tuning in to the weekly Nexus news. If you liked our video, leave a like, comment if you have anything to say. Thank you to our $10 patrons, Darren, Cole, and Josh. If you are interested in donating, it would really help out the show. $5 and up, and you get a whole ass bonus show. $10 patrons get early access to non-news videos, so like fights and unboxings and the like. And they also get a shout out like I did earlier. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you all later. Bye-bye.